We're getting down to the main event with the Republicans jumping into the 2024 race for president left and right. South Carolina Senator Tim Scott got into the race this week. Glenn Youngkin, the governor of Virginia, weighing his options and might join the fray. But the real announcement that has the potential to turn it into a dogfight for the GOP coming later today. Florida Governor Ron DeSantis, who has been attracting a lot of money from mega donors and a lot of attention from the media, while catching the ire of the former president Donald Trump, is set to formally announce his candidacy tonight at 6 o'clock during a live event with Elon Musk on Twitter. Certainly a big deal, and it means the long-rumored matchup for the GOP is set to begin today. It's also the first time we've ever seen a major announcement like this come on social media, and it has been confirmed by the world's richest man, Elon Musk himself, who apparently will be the one asking the questions of the governor. At least that's what we're told, live, without a script of any kind. Listen.
Your time, I think, would be probably correct.
Okay.
Yes, we'll be interviewing Ron DeSantis, and he has quite an announcement to make. And it'll be the first time that something like this is happening on social media, and with real-time questions and answers, not scripted.
Now, despite the event being live on Twitter, Elon Musk refused to actually endorse anyone for president, but there is reporting that he has said privately that he doesn't believe that Donald Trump can win in a general election matchup with Joe Biden or anybody else. Even though right now he is up by 7 points over Joe Biden in the latest Harvard-Harris poll. It just came out a couple of days ago, and Trump's killing him. But regardless, Musk was pushing Twitter as a new electronic town square for everyone to meet and share their opinions, and apparently make major political announcements too. Here he is again.
You've been tweeting some Tim Scott stuff in the last few days. What should we be thinking about who you're backing? Obviously, this interview tells us something. Can you give us a sense of where your thinking is at the moment?
Yes, I mean, I'm not at this time planning to endorse any particular candidate. But I am interested in, X/Twitter being somewhat of a public town square, and where more and more organizations host content and make announcements on Twitter. It's the only place on the internet to really get real time, like down to the minute and second news, and it's So I think it's quite groundbreaking that there'd be a major announcement of this type on social media.
It looks pretty obvious that Elon shaved with a dull razor. It's also pretty obvious that he's trying to attract Donald Trump back onto Twitter, but so far that hasn't happened. President Trump has not appeared on the platform, even though his lifetime ban, I should say, was lifted months ago after Musk bought the social media giant for a mere $44 billion. And what about DeSantis? The Trump supporters have been ruthless to him ever since the rumors began months ago that he might join the race for the White House. And DeSantis even put out a commercial that basically gave all the credit to President Trump for him winning in his first run for governor, and he's being called out for it. Watch this.
Ron DeSantis was struggling big time in his primary race for governor of Florida. Then DeSantis was saved by the endorsement of President Trump.
They show you reading to your children.
Make America great again. Build the wall. Then Mr. Trump said, "You're fired."
Big league. So good. Build the wall. Sounds like you were sucking up to Trump.
Well, if you watch that, I mean, it was a satirical ad. It was a little tongue in cheek, but that was many years ago. I was running, and we wanted to get some notoriety, and so I knew if we did that it would cause the press to go berserk. And what they would do is they would be outraged by it, but they would keep playing it, and so people would see. And so what we were able to say is, okay, here's my wife, we're a young family, here's that. And so that kind of got projected out. So I don't even know how much money we paid to run it, but the media ran it for us because they were so upset, that it was a pro-Trump ad.
Governor, you ran the ad. All right, let's just leave it at that. You ran the ad. You can try to pivot away from it and make light of it or do whatever you want, but you ran the ad. Ron DeSantis also put out this teaser ad last night, essentially saying the announcement was coming. Here he is.
They call it faith because in the face of darkness, you can see that brighter future. a faith that our best days lay ahead of us. But is it worth the fight? Do I have the courage? Is it worth the sacrifice? America has been worth it every single time.
All right, so there's the teaser. I mean, it's all coming together. Then you have to ask yourself about the relationship between Elon Musk and Governor DeSantis. I mean, if the richest person in the world says yes to sitting down with you so you can announce your bid to be president, but he doesn't endorse you outright or at all for that matter, that leaves a lot of questions on the table, doesn't it? So I dug deeper into the vault, pulled out this gem with DeSantis discussing Musk moving his companies out of California and setting up shop in Florida. Here's what I found.
Dysfunctional government can take the state with more natural advantages than any other state in our country, all these great industries, great weather, and it could basically ruin it.
What does it say that Elon wants to move Twitter out of San Francisco, and he's shopping right now? He's not paying rent anymore. He's going to move it out. Could Elon move Twitter to Florida? Would you support that?
I don't know. I mean, I know Elon, and I basically what I would tell him is like, okay, if you're going to move Twitter to Florida, are you bringing woke employees to Florida, or are you bringing just your people? If it's just his people, then it may be good. But it's like, and he did fire a lot of people at Twitter.
What percentage of your staff did you fire at Twitter? One of the great business stories of the year.
I think we're about 20% of the original size.
So 80% left.
Yes.
And he's made the point that Twitter and other types of Silicon Valley companies, they live in this intellectual cocoon. Woke ideology infuses everything. And over the last many years, they've been exporting that ideology via these social platforms all the way around the world. Yeah. And it's really, I think, infected politics, culture in a very negative way. So I really applaud him for taking on Twitter, trying to moor it back towards facts and truth, and stop to always parrot the ideology and trying to censor beliefs that conflict with it. San Francisco, look, politically was never my cup of tea, right? But I mean, you go back 10 years or so, it was a very thriving, bustling city. Yeah. People like to visit there. Who's taking vacations to San Francisco now? Nobody's doing that. I mean, it's just not something they're doing.
All right, there you have a deeper look at DeSantis and his relationship with Elon Musk, begging him to bring those companies to Florida. I believe he stopped short in Texas. And for President Trump's part, he isn't going to take any of this lying down, of course. You wouldn't expect him to. He didn't. He struck out at DeSantis first thing in the morning on Truth Social, first calling him by the wrong first name. Look, Rob DeSanctimonious came to be asking for help. He was losing badly by 31 points to popular Agriculture Commissioner Adam Putnam. He was getting ready to drop out of the race, ran a terrible campaign. Ron told me he had one last chance, my support and endorsement, which Putnam and everyone else wanted. I gave it to Ron, and the race was over. And one day, he went from losing badly to winning by a lot. With 3 large Trump rallies, he won the general election in an upset. Disloyal. He also hammered home why he believes DeSantis cannot win the general election or even get the nomination, and also brought up the fact that he believes DeSantis is disloyal again. Ron DeSantis can't win the general election or get the nomination because he voted to obliterate Social Security, even wanting to raise the minimum age to 70 or more, voted to badly wound Medicare and fought hard and voted for a 23% tax on everything sales tax. He was and is a disciple of horrible Rhino Paul Ryan and others, too many to mention. Also, he desperately needs a personality transplant, and to the best of my knowledge, they're not medically available yet. A disloyal person. I guess he had his coffee this morning before he began writing. Now, you can expect this all to continue as the race for the Republican nomination really heats up now, but let's stick to the general election point that President Trump brought up in that last Truth Post for now. Because honestly, Joe Biden is now the weakest president of any sitting president since Jimmy Carter got crushed by Ronald Reagan back in 1980. But it is very difficult to compare election years, especially more than 4 decades apart. But he is in free fall with a 20-point deficit in job approval. And even worse, when you get to the economy, check these numbers out.
What do Americans think about how President Biden is handling the overall economy?
So his overall approval on the handling of the economy is not great. 34% of Americans approve, 66% disapprove. Take a look At his overall job approval, it's a little better than on the economy, but still low. 40% approval, 60% disapproval. And Jake, take a look at that presidential approval rating matched up against his modern era predecessors at this point in their presidency. Joe Biden's 40%, where he is now, is down here between Jimmy Carter and Donald Trump. Of course, they were just one-term presidents. He's hoping for a Reagan-esque turnaround.
Oh, boy.
Yeah. Oh, boy is right. And Democrats, for their part, are still claiming President Biden will win re-election. Take Stacey Abrams. No, please. Take Stacey Abrams, who really doesn't know anything about winning elections at all. She knows a lot about losing them. Here's what she had to proclaim.
President Biden's approval rating at 40%, disapproval 60%. It's a downward trend. Only 34% approve of his handling of the economy. I mean, can he win re-election with those numbers?
Absolutely. We are in a deeply polarized moment in our politics. And I think despite the low numbers, what we also know is that he has delivered historic investments. He has made impossible so many things that people are taking for granted. And the part that he will play in the campaign is sharing that information, letting people know what has been done and juxtaposing it with whomever becomes the Republican nominee and what they will do.
Yeah, okay. Democrats also painting Ron DeSantis with the same brush they paint Donald Trump and, well, everybody to the right, calling him a racist. Is that really a surprise? No. They'll do that to any Republican we know. Here's Hillary Clinton's tweet. Ron DeSantis' ultra-MAGA Florida isn't safe for people of color, LGBTQ plus people, or even multi-billion-dollar corporations. But what's interesting about Hillary Clinton is that she weighed in on Biden's age, too. He'll be 81 by the time we get to Election Day, 82. If he survives that to a second term, it's already obvious that it's a treacherous path that we're on. And even the most die-hard Democrats, they know it, too. Listen.
Now, there was that heart-stopping moment where he almost fell over coming down the stairs a day or two ago. He didn't use the railings. Jill wasn't there with him. Every time that happens, your heart is in your mouth because these things could be consequential. Is that a concern?
Well, I mean, it's a concern for anyone. And we've had presidents who've fallen before who were a lot younger, and people didn't go into, heart palpitations. But his age is an issue, and people have every right to consider it.
Age is an issue. Incompetence is an issue. Incontinence, well, that's an issue for the people around him. Plus, with continuing failures at the border and with the debt ceiling, Biden's numbers are actually getting worse every single day. Congressman Tom Emmers, among those on both sides of the aisle that's calling on the president to lead in this time of crisis or get out of the way, because anything less could lead us to a new recession or worse, a 30s-style depression. And that would change everything. Listen.
The question actually remains, what is Joe Biden and his administration willing to give to provide solutions to the debt ceiling crisis and put this country on a better financial path? If you can't answer the question, again, it is Joe Biden and the Democrats who will have to explain to every American why they decided to default for the first time in this nation's history.
So that's one thing. Here's another. The border situation, another stone-cold loser for the White House, no matter how they try to spin it. Oh, the border's under control. No, it's not. It's wide open, and you morons know it. Congressman Tom McClintock says if your community hasn't felt the border crisis yet, surely it will soon. Here he is.
Every Border Patrol officer says the same thing. This is no longer a border problem. If it hasn't already come to your community, it soon will. I'm afraid this will culminate either in a terrorist attack by elements that have come in through our border or the kind of cartel gun battles breaking out in cities that have already become commonplace in Mexico. Now, this is not to paint every illegal migrant as a gang member or terrorist, but the Biden open borders policy is clearly allowing many dangerous gang members, terrorists, and criminals into our country, and he doesn't seem to care about the resulting damage.
He doesn't care a bit. But is that enough to dump Biden and let Trump return to the White House, especially in this era of Democrats bending election rules, to put it lightly, and with weak RNC leadership? Or will people be looking for a new horse to ride, or a new old horse to ride? Only time will tell now. We'll be watching at 6 o'clock to see what is said, how this announcement goes, and we'll discuss it again tomorrow. You can bank on that.